Hello, I'm John Rossi, a touring drummer with a love of all things animal. When I'm on the road, I visit as many zoos, aquariums... Hey, wait a minute. What's going on? Hey, what's going on there? Hello? Hello? Hello?
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you Rossifari Zoo news. News you can use from the world of zoos and conservation. Every week, we bring you breaking news and analysis from around the globe, featuring the animals you love and the people who care for them. And here's your anchorman, John Rossi.
Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Rossifari podcast and Rossifari Zoo News, your look at everything going on in the world of zoos, aquariums, conservation, and general animal weirdness. Y'all, not really too much to announce in the old Life of John department this week. There is some stuff going on that I'm really excited about, actually, but that I can't talk about publicly yet because I just can't share it. Like, it's not official yet, but boy, I can't wait to share it when it is. I've got some great bookings coming up where I'll be traveling around with a bunch of different shows and artists, but I can't announce those. I've got life change stuff, and I can't announce that. You know, as someone who is looking for content to fill this space every week, I actually have a whole lot of it that I'm excited about, but can't put into the world yet, which is silly. But hey, buzz is still perfect, so that's good. And also, if you had the opportunity to see this on my socials, last night, if you're listening when this drops, which is Friday, May 3rd, last night was Savor Del Mar at Aquarium of Niagara, and I volunteered there. I was a greeter and then helped with the online basket raffle thing and helped with the nets during the Sea Lion show and just, you know, all kinds of random stuff. Floated around, ate possibly the best cupcake I've ever eaten in my entire life and some other really good food. And just had an awesome time hanging out with my aquarium peeps, most of whom I didn't recognize because they were dressed in like actual dresses and stuff. Although I will say I did recognize my marine mammal and birds team because they were wearing the wetsuits that they always wear. Thank God for wetsuits. I literally don't know if I would know those people outside of them. No, I'm kidding. Probably. But yeah, Savor was a really awesome experience. And it's just cool to be kind of on the inside and see how things go with these big fundraisery things and everything. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. But one other thing that I will mention is that I'd like to welcome Sherry Weiss as my newest patron. Sherry has decided to financially support the podcast monthly by going to patreon.com/Rossifari, and she'll be getting lots of cool audio and other bonus features because of it. You, too, can be like Sherry. How exciting. But hey, welcome aboard, Sherry. You are awesome, and I'm glad to have your support. And honestly, as this podcast continues to grow, it really does help to have the support of patrons. I've actually been invited to 3 facilities recently, 2 of which are new to the pod. But, you know, I would have to figure out my own travel situation. They want me there, but I have to get there. And in those cases, being able to offset the costs from the Patreon really makes a big difference. I've also noticed that some of my most downloaded episodes are my conference recaps and things like that. And just so you know, while some of the organizations offer me free or reduced conference fees to cover them for the podcast, I still have to handle lodging and travel and such. So just know that if you already contribute to my Patreon, you're truly helping make this podcast what it is. And as my number of patrons grows, I'll be able to do more things like that to make the podcast pop even more. So if you are interested in contributing, don't forget to hit up patreon.com/Rossifari. But hey, that's enough of this commercial. Let's get to it. So I normally start this segment with whatever the big story of the week is, but this week there really isn't one, which honestly, after the last few weeks, is a really nice change. But I do think I'll start with one story that I saw this week and really liked basically everything about. Our friends at Woodland Park Zoo saw a video of one of their bears go viral this week for, well, being a bear. The bear is named Juniper, and Juniper lives in a gorgeous naturalistic habitat with caves and grass and a big water-filled area that goes right up to the glass. And the exhibit is outside, meaning that sometimes additional nature gets into the exhibit, including a mama duck and some baby ducks who chose the pool of a bear to hang out in. Yeah, you can definitely see where this is going. Juniper wandered into the water and picked up the ducklings one by one, popping each bite-sized morsel into her mouth. It literally looked like a person tossing some popcorn into their mouth while watching a movie. And with all due respect to the ducklings, it was actually kind of adorable. One of the guests who was there at the time took video of the entire Snackdown and posted it on TikTok, where it went viral. And I have to pause right here to point out that the person who posted it was not doing so to be negative. The caption read, quote, "A hashtag Nat Geo train wreck for my daughter's birthday. Thanks, Juniper. JK, we loved Woodland Park Zoo. Hashtag Circle of Life." Overall, the vast majority of responses to the video were positive from what I saw. There are always going to be the usual, anti-zoo people who complain about everything, but this was an animal being an animal, and it seems most people got that. Honestly, I think even a lot of the anti-zoo crowd stayed away from this one because it's kind of a perfect example of what they preach should happen. Letting animals live their lives freely in nature, come what may. Like, this is a species that is at a zoo, yes, but it can be found in Washington in settings exactly like where it lives at the zoo. And if a duck family is dumb enough to land right by a bear, this is what happens. The zoo did put out a response, which I thought was great. It read in its entirety, and I'm going to quote it here. Internet. Juniper? Juniper. I plead the fifth. On bears and ducklings. Woodland Park Zoo is truly an urban oasis and naturally draws native wildlife to our grounds. Over the years, our animal care team has tried to discourage waterfowl from nesting in or near our habitats throughout the zoo, particularly where our carnivores live. However, free-flying ducks and birds can choose where to nest. While we know it can be difficult to watch, bears and other carnivores predating on chicks is a natural instinct and is indeed the circle of life. End quote. And that really says it all. I think the team at Woodland Park Zoo handled this super well and want to commend them for it. And beyond that, I'm just really happy Juniper got some yummy snackies. All right, and that brings us to our births for the week. The Dallas Zoo has announced the birth of 2 lesser flamingo chicks. Since flamingos get their famous pink coloration from the food they eat, the flamlets are actually whitish when young, so they really stand out in the flock. The Birmingham Zoo has announced the birth of a giraffe to parents Ruby and Jalil. Ruby is being an awesome mom, so everything is going pretty perfectly in Birmingham right now. The National Zoo, in Australia, not the one in Washington, D.C., has announced the birth of a zebra foal to mom Kiva and dad Tombo. Tombo, in particular, is known for being a doting father, which is absolutely adorable to hear. So congrats to the other National Zoo, as I see them. The Denver Zoo, in the United States, not in Australia, has announced the birth of a new Linnaeus two-toed sloth. Mom is doing such a great job caring for the baby that keepers haven't been hands-on yet, so they don't really have much info about the baby other than knowing that it is thriving. Eventually, a DNA test will be done to determine the sex of the baby. Cleveland Metroparks Zoo has welcomed a new Bontebok calf. This bontlet weighs in around 20 pounds and is absolutely adorable. Make sure you check the socials to see the little guy. The Museum of Life and Science in Durham, North Carolina, has welcomed a litter of red wolf pups. It is the first time the museum has had red wolf pups since 2019, and they are coming back in style. The litter consists of 7 pups, 4 males and 3 females. With red wolves being incredibly endangered, this is a huge success. And those 7 aren't the only red wolflets born this week, as our friends at the North Carolina Zoo announced 4 more pups. They were born on my birthday, March 31st, meaning they are the best red wolf pups ever. And it's amazing that these 2 facilities have brought 11 new red wolves into the world this week alone. Keep in mind that there are only around 35 red wolves in the wild at this time. And the red wolf breeding program does introduce pups into the wild when they are able to. So this is really exciting news for the species. Oh, hey, so I'm breaking into my own podcast because after I recorded this segment, I got a message from my buddy Daniel at the Trevor Zoo. And just for the record, I get really excited when PR people reach out to me like through a text or a quick email to tell me that something exciting is happening and make sure it gets on to Zoo News. So if you're a PR person and you do that, thanks. But anyway, it turns out that there was also a litter of red wolves born at the Trevor Zoo this week. There are 4 there as well. So that brings the number of red wolves born in AZA facilities to 15 this week alone, which is almost half the number that currently live in the wild. That is just beyond amazing. I am so happy for all of these facilities, and I've gotten to see the area where the Trevor Zoo keeps their wolves and stuff, and it is just fantastic. So I'm really excited about this. And you too can actually get a look at the whole wolf situation at the Trevor Zoo right now, because the Trevor Zoo has a webcam set up where you can see the wolves in their den live. Now, I may or may not have spent some time doing that today, and all I will say is that I give it the review of 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. So yeah, this is really, really awesome news. I love all of the red wolf births, and yay! But of course, that does bring us to our deaths this week. I'm only going to touch a couple of these because, frankly, I needed a bit of a detox after last week. But let's see here. The Virginia Aquarium has announced the passing of Sheldon, a North American river otter who was 12 years old. Sheldon had been anesthetized for his annual exam and unfortunately did not recover from the procedure. Anesthesia is a lot more challenging in exotic species than in domestics because we don't have nearly the amount of data that we do about, say, dogs and cats. As of the time of this recording, the zoo isn't really sure what happened, but you know, they're looking into it, and sometimes these things happen. So, yeah, sending our condolences to the team at the Virginia Aquarium, who had been caring for Sheldon since he was a little pup. And then ZooAmerica has said goodbye to Betty, the albino striped skunk. Betty was almost 11 years old, which is a ripe old age, as the species usually lives 2 to 3 years in the wild. Betty was part of the education department at the zoo, and as such, really was an amazing ambassador for her species. People fell in love with her calm demeanor and were often just shocked to see an albino skunk, which opened up a lot of opportunities for the staff that cared for her to have conversations with guests and educate them about albino skunks and just skunks in general. So the team really, really misses her presence. Sending love to everyone at ZooAmerica. And then that brings us to the rest of our Zoo News section for the week. So we're going to start off by telling you that our friends at the San Diego Zoo have officially introduced the panda bears that will be joining them in the near future. Over the past few weeks, wildlife care specialists from the zoo have been at the Wulong and Baifingja panda bases in China to meet the 2 giant pandas that will call the San Diego Zoo home. Yoon Chuan and Sing Bao will arrive once all of the permitting and other hurdles can be taken care of. Yoon Chuan is almost 5 years old, male, and described as mild-mannered, gentle, and lovable. Sing Bao is nearly 4 years old, female, and is known for being gentle and witty, and is something of an introvert. I am so excited for the return of giant pandas to the San Diego Zoo. And if you're wondering what happened to the red pandas that were living in the giant panda exhibits after they left, well, tune in to Tuesday's episode where I'm bringing back fan-favorite guest Nikki Boyd of the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance and Red Panda Network to talk all things red panda conservation and update us about what's going on with the red pandas at the San Diego Zoo. The Philadelphia Zoo recently shared a cool story. Their curator of birds and one of their bird keepers traveled to the Northern Marianas Islands to work with Pacific Bird Conservation and the local Department of Fish and Wildlife for 3 weeks. They spent their time in the field working to protect the critically endangered Sapon reed warbler. The program they were a part of is developing trapping and husbandry techniques to effectively trap the birds and safely house them in preparation for potential future relocations to help spread the population to more of its original habitat. What an incredible effort, and it's pretty amazing that the zoo and these incredible people were willing to not only do this, but do it for 3 weeks. Great job, Philadelphia Zoo. Our friends at the Jacksonville Zoo have announced a series of new education programs aimed at adults. Each class is a 2-hour-long session at the zoo that focuses on one area of the zoo, including the Manatee Critical Care Center or their range of the jaguar exhibits. The sessions start with classroom learning before heading into the park to hear from animal care experts and then taking a behind-the-scenes tour of the area. The classes focus on the challenges and emotional context of conservation and animal advocacy. I think this is awesome and something I hope more zoos consider doing. I get targeting kids, I do, but hey, adults love y'all too and have money. As a matter of fact, I'd be at every class if I wasn't 1,039 miles away. And yes, I checked. A hippo that has lived at a zoo in Japan for the past 7 years was recently discovered to be female, despite the zoo having believed she was male this entire time. The hippo, named Genchan, traveled to the Osaka Tennoji Zoo from Mexico back in 2017 when she was 5 years old, and her paperwork said she was male. Zookeepers recently began to question that fact when they realized Genchan wasn't exhibiting typical male hippo behaviors, so they did a DNA test, and it turns out Genchan is female. Genchan will not be getting a new name, and fortunately this was recognized before any breeding attempts or any other weirdness pertaining to this could happen. The Sunset Zoo is home to Hakim, a male Malayan tiger who has been suffering from arthritis for a while now. The zoo recently partnered with the Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine to give Hakim groundbreaking arthritis treatments to try to help the joint pain in both of his elbows. The team used Synovetin OA, which is a drug that has been used to successfully treat thousands of dogs with arthritis. The drug targets the cells that cause inflammation, pain, and the progression of the disease, and can provide up to a year of relief with just one shot. This is the first time the drug has been used on a big cat, and so far, the results seem really promising. Awesome work by the Sunset Zoo for taking this leap and improving the quality of Hakim's life. The Oakland Zoo has said goodbye to 14 bison that are headed out to Montana, where they will be living freely under the stewardship of the Blackfeet Nation. These 14 heritage buffalo make it a total of 38 that have been sent from the Oakland Zoo to the Blackfeet Nation, where they are working to create a lasting homeland for the animals. Now, y'all know I love me a good reintroduction story. And if you want a really cool visual of this, check out at Oakland Zoo on Instagram, where you can see the bison running to their new home, or at least to, be transported to their new. They're not running from Oakland to. No, anyway, you get it. Our friends at Aquarium of the Pacific have teamed up with the Monterey Bay Aquarium to provide an incredible service: sea otter foster mothering. Each year, around 10 to 15 sea otters are found stranded off the coast of California, often from storms that pull juvenile sea otters away from their mothers. These two aquariums have been rescuing and rehabilitating those animals for quite some time, but now they have added a new dimension to their program, pairing the juveniles with adult female sea otters who are able to illustrate the behaviors the pups need to learn stuff like grooming, foraging, prey manipulation, and even the proper technique for opening shells. Stuff humans aren't really successful at teaching juvenile otters. The hope is that by learning from another sea otter, the kiddos will be able to build their skills in such a natural way that it will allow them to be released back into the wild. I love everything about this program, and I know that the aquariums are hoping that other partners join on, so I'm hoping for that as well. So, it was a couple years ago that I announced the passing of Calypso, the sea turtle who called the National Aquarium home. Calypso was not only a fan favorite, but a favorite of mine, and is one of the animals I credit with making me realize how incredible zoos and aquariums are. While no turtle could ever replace Calypso, I definitely have been missing seeing a sea turtle in the Blacktip Reef exhibit when I visit the National Aquarium. But now, the wait is over. A new sea turtle named Pecorino is on exhibit at the aquarium now, and I could not be happier about this fact. Well, actually, yes, I could. I could be happier if I was at the aquarium right now visiting and seeing Pecorino there. But anyway, he's a Kemp's Ridley sea turtle that has actually been living at the aquarium since 2020, but off exhibit as he healed from a boat strike and worked to overcome cognitive difficulties that came up because of the strike. And while those injuries make Pecorino unreleasable, the team at the aquarium has worked hard to ensure that he is ready for life on exhibit, and now we can all go see him in Baltimore and fall in love. I am definitely planning on doing that. And last but not least, our friends at Woodland Park Zoo have set up a 24/7 streaming webcam that might interest some of you. Their Red Panda webcam is live. Now you can watch Jacob and Marie, who you heard about on this podcast before, and also see their cub Sprout every minute of every day. You can find the Panda Cam on their website. Legal disclaimer. The Rossifari podcast cannot be held liable for loss of productivity due to Red Panda webcam viewing. Any consequences, including the loss of one's job, romantic partners, or even life by watching on your phone while driving, is solely the legal responsibility of the viewer. You can't even blame the Rossifari podcast if you just get distracted while recording something and realizing that Jacob is being so cute. Oh my God, that is adorable. I can't even believe what I'm seeing right now. They are so cute. All right, we'll be back after this quick break.
Hi, this is Kathy Hill from the Indian River Lagoon National Estuary Program. We're all about restoration projects in progress this season on One Lagoon, One Voice. Learn about the great strides the lagoon community is taking to restore and protect the Indian River Lagoon. Each week, we dive deep into discussions with scientists, resource managers, and nonprofit leaders to explore lagoon issues and solutions. From oyster reefs to clam restoration, algae blooms to muck, you'll learn all about the projects we're tackling to bring the Indian River Lagoon back to health. Click the link in the show notes to follow One Lagoon, One Voice, learn about the IRL Council, and explore our unique lagoon.
Wait, I'm sorry. What was I saying? In other news. All right, so we are actually going to skip over conservation news this week just because I'm exhausted and was at the aquarium tonight and will be again tomorrow morning. And, every once in a while I try and do something for my own mental health. And this is that. So, yeah. But for those who look forward to this section, here's a quick summary. Some good things happened with numbers going up and conservation efforts working. Some bad things happened because, well, honestly, people suck. Poaching is bad. Conservation is good. And some of both happened this week. So let's keep fighting the good fight. And hey, at least you don't have to listen to me giving you a soapbox rant about that very topic. Now, for the other news. There has been so much stuff about pet alligators lately, and it is driving me crazy. So, do you remember Wally Gator, the pet gator in Pennsylvania, that a guy took to a Phillies game to meet players, but then wasn't allowed in, and a whole debate broke out over whether he should have been allowed to bring his, quote, emotional support alligator into a stadium, but then it turned out he wasn't actually trying to take the gator in to see the game anyway? It was a whole thing? Well, now Wally Gator is missing. The alligator was apparently taken from his travel enclosure back on April 21st while his owner and Wally were visiting friends in Georgia. According to Wally's owner, the gator was, quote, nabbed by somebody who likes to drop alligators off into someone's yard to terrorize them. I can't make it up. Anyway, Wally was then captured by a trapper that was called in by the Department of Natural Resources when the people who lived in that house complained of a gator in their yard, which, makes sense. The trapper dropped Wally off in a swamp in a group of about 20 other alligators, and by the time it was discovered that it was Wally that had been trapped, it was too late. Wally was in the swamp, and the DNR said it would be impossible to positively identify Wally from the other gators in said swamp. Furthermore, in the state of Georgia, it is illegal to capture and remove a gator from a swamp without a permit, and the DNR is refusing to give Wally's owner a permit to do so, meaning it would be quite illegal for him to go into the swamp and take Wally back, even if he was able to 100% positively recognize his gator. So, as of now, the entire situation is just one crazy impasse. The swamp that Wally was moved to is huge, and gators can cover a large range quickly, so it really is impossible to know where he could be, and is currently illegal to take him out. So yeah, we're just kind of stuck. Maybe, just maybe, people shouldn't have alligators as pets, and then stuff like this won't happen. Now, last week, we talked about an elephant that was on the loose briefly in Butte, but Montana. Well, this week, some privately owned zebras escaped a trailer that was transporting them from Washington State to Montana. What is it with Montana? But anyway, 4 zebras in total escaped and were seen running down the road together. 3 were captured quickly, but the 4th one is still on the run. So yeah, the owner went on with the other 3 to Montana, but there's just this zebra that, people are trying to find and, get to be a non-wild zebra in Washington. Yeah. Maybe, just maybe, people shouldn't have zebras as pets, and then stuff like this won't happen. And then last but not least in other news, there are pictures of a dog going around the internet that are pretty incredible. Over the course of about 2.5 years, the dog went from completely black to completely white. Now, the dog is named Buster, and he has vitiligo, a condition in which the animal in question loses the pigmentation in their skin. It has been documented in dogs before, but is far more common in humans, including John Rossi, the host of the Rossifari podcast. Yep, I have vitiligo. It's pretty hard to see at times because of my skin tone, but it is definitely more noticeable when I am tanned or burnt in the summer. And those of you who know me know that I am often burnt in the summer because I suck at remembering sunscreen and spend a lot of times at zoos. But anyway, it's cool to see Buster making headlines for this condition that I happen to share with him. And maybe, just maybe, people shouldn't have dogs as pets, and then stuff like this won't happen. Oh, no, wait. Sorry, that That doesn't work this time.
Oh, animal holidays. Animal holidays. Hey!
All right, and that brings us to our animal holidays for the week. It is May, which is National Duckling Month, National Lake Cleanup Month, and No Mow May. And honestly, the National Duckling Month thing is just amusing given the story I opened this episode with. Anyway, for our individual days, May 3rd is Wild Koala Day and International Leopard Day. May 4th is Salamander Saturday. May 5th is the start of Amphibian Week, which runs through the 11th, and is also known as Cinco de Rhino. And that's it. So those are your animal holidays for the week. But don't forget that May 11th is coming up and is International Binturong Day. And we are promoting the merch and upcoming raffle to celebrate said day with a special raffle for Rossifari fans as part of it. So follow the links in the show notes or in my stories to partake. All right, there you have it, folks. Another episode of Rossifari Zoo News is done, and I want to thank you all for listening. I know that I mentioned the Patreon thing at the beginning, but I am going to plug it one more time now just because I have a new thing in the works for my patrons, and I can't say what it is on the podcast. It's something that I literally just can't promote other than to say that it's going to be really cool, really different, really personal, but also really, Rossifari-y. And I'm really excited about it. I'm going to start it soon. So now is a great time to become a patron of the pod by going to patreon.com/Rossifari. And depending on what level you become, along with getting bonus audio and stuff, if you become a Red Panda level patron, you'll get to hear your name at the end of every episode like this. I'd like to say thank you to my Red Panda level patrons, Dr. Laura Shank, Dr. Stephen Williamson, Barbara Bennett, and Jenny Owens. See, that's so cool. I even put on a different voice just now. You're welcome, patrons. Anyway, I'd like to say thank you also to everyone who contributed stories this week, including Anya Keene, Colleen Lenehan, Kim Cooley-Croninger, Carrie Kirkpatrick, Kevin Williams, Ken Tryon, Emily Rockbuck, Ann Yoshioka, Jay Meredith, Dr. Laura Shank, Dr. Zoe Rossi, Rowena White, Ali Gessner, Matt Patford, Michael Sebastian, Eric Kankar, Becca Fewer, Sam Evans, Ali Malensky, Kay Malensky, the Malenskys, Jody Allen, Becca Robinson, Daniel Cohen, Elizabeth Dunlevy, and Kristen Khalil. Thank you all so much for contributing this week. And remember, friends, the words Newsy credits backwards are Steiderk Yeswen. The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo. Now, last week, we talked about an elephant that was on the loose briefly in Butte, not Butte,